Hello friends, and welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 56. This is Friday, September 9th, 2022. I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and thanks for joining me. And to those of you who are new to the channel, I really appreciate you stopping by. I hope you find something interesting and fun. For those of you returning, thanks for your patience over the past weeks of me being less regular in my recording. At the end of the video, if I remember, I'll mention what's coming up, and hopefully it will be fine with you all. I'm sure it will. So this is Flosstube, meaning cross stitch, and it's a variety show, meaning whatever else is on my mind today. I actually do have quite a few things to show. I haven't done a Flosstube and variety show video in 2 weeks, I think. And before that, it was 2 weeks because intervening was the quilt video with my friend Cindy. But in the past 2 weeks, I have actually gotten a fair amount of cross stitch done. So let's dive in, shall we? Pardon me while I lean over to fetch what I have here. I forgot to put it on the table. All right, a lot of stuff. First of all, from this book, Sweet Land of Liberty, I worked on In Full Glory. Let me find the bigger picture to show you. This. I mean, it makes it look vast. It's actually not vast. I worked on this last weekend because it was the first weekend of the month, the Blackbird Design Weekend Stitch Along. And I did the flag. I think I had done the eagle the last time I showed this, so I did the flag. I really love how this is coming out. And so what remains is the border on this side and across the bottom, and a big flower pot and some of these little fill-in things that Blackbird likes to put. So in the picture, as I'm seeing it, it looks really good, but in person, and it looks good in person, don't get me wrong, in person, it's clear that that red in the flag is more a brick color than a red, which I'm a little disappointed in, just because I really love red. But in the scheme of this, it's all going to look fine. It will look like red. Nobody will look at it and say, why did she make an orange flag? They won't see that. They'll see it as a red, white, and blue design. So I'm really happy with how this is turning out. Next, I will show you, so I might say this every time. I'm actually not at all disorganized. I plan out in advance what I'm going to talk about, and I create the description box in advance. But sometimes on the table, it feels a little scattered. This is Eliza Stringer, age 6. This little sampler from Hands Across the Sea. This was is a pre-release, or maybe a never again released piece for people who are attending the Great British Sampler Weekend next year. Funny shadow here, sorry. Let me with that book. Let me put this behind it and see if I can. So anyway, this is, I finished that, almost finished this row of alphabet. I think I may have another letter in there. Finished the green inner border. Did more on that pink border. I really thought I was going to do more, but as I mentioned before, it's actually, I won't say hard to stitch on, but not as easy as one might think. I mean, this little 6-year-old girl probably, I mean, I don't know much about this sampler, but I'm pretty impressed with her. Sampler 193 by, upside down, by 2x2 Stitch Art. Etsy, this is an Etsy shop. I really have enjoyed this. I worked on it quite a bit the last week in August. So you see that's coming out from the center. It's going to be a big square. Really like it. It's a white 16 count Aida by Zweigart, and a red floss, might be 777. I don't know. Some color. I don't know. It's a red color, DMC. Tiger Stare by Charting Creations. I have done a lot on this. One problem with full coverage pieces is it's hard to tell, but I really have. It's coming. That's the whole height of it. So I'm about to get into the first big stretch of black for that stripe. There's something like, I don't know, 15,000 stitches in black. I'm over here. Where am I? I'm over here. Lots of stitches in black. So that's where I'm heading. But the good thing about that kind of stitching is it's actually nice for football games and things like that when I'm really wanting to think about something else but have my hands busy. So that's good. And now, I don't show this every week, but I probably will, I'm hoping to, this month, because I'm really focusing on getting some stitching done on this under the roof of blue Ionian weather. And, you know, I've started over here, I've gotten complete about to here, and I'm in this bush, started on this sky and coming down. It's 40-something% finished. I've done 1,000 stitches this week in it. 72,000 stitches all together. This is the piece that I selected to try to do 22,000 stitches in 2022. I don't think that's going to happen. In order for that to happen, I think I would have to do 14 or 13,000 stitches between now and the end of the year. And there are other things I want to work on and do. So I don't know. I sort of doubt it. Anyway, that I am pleased to be making progress on that. Clearly, I'm not going to finish it by March 28th, 2023, which would be 2 years. That is simply not going to happen. And that's fine with me. Maybe by the end of 2023, that will be finished. Maybe. I just hope it will be finished in my lifetime. Let's put it that way, which that should be doable, Lord willing. So that is what I wanted to show in cross stitch. If you're keeping track at home, you'll know that the only cross stitch project I'm working on that I didn't show today is the purple sampler. I have been focusing so much on the commission quilt that I just couldn't devote the creativity necessary to decide on the next things. Now I did, however, decide on another element that has a story attached to it. So in some coming video, maybe this coming week, oh no, yeah, not this coming week, more on that later. Maybe in 2 weeks, I might feature that piece and tell you another story. I know you all love my stories, right? Of course you do, Emily. Okay. What else? All right, I have this other pile. Pardon me, turning my back. Is this all here? I think so. So first of all, I bought another quilt pattern because I'm a little bit insane, but isn't that pretty? It's called Amelia. I had to buy it, right? It's by Robin Pickens. And it creates a square quilt, either a wall hanging type, which is I think this much of it, or maybe this is the center section more likely, or a throw size. But I was attracted to this. Really, you can just get me by putting interesting things in the border and by doing things with shading. So this may be a soon project, soon as in when I'm finished with the commission quilt. I'm doing nothing before then. So what I wanted to talk about today is foundation paper piecing. Now, there are two kinds of paper piecing. One is foundation paper piecing and the other is English paper piecing. And there may be others, but those are the main ones that I'm aware of. And I'm just taking something out of an envelope here because I want to actually show you something that I'm talking about. So I'm showing a tiny bit of this pattern, but you will not understand what it is. So I'm not breaking any rules, I don't think. So let me just do this very simple one here. So the way foundation paper piecing works is you are given this little pattern, and this is the exact size that your quilt piece is going to turn out. And if you can see, those pieces are numbered. And there's a key that tells you what color fabric to use in each place. But you start by putting on this paper, well, on a different piece of paper because I photocopied it because I didn't want to. Because when you've made this, you have used up the paper. And in order to make it a second time, you have to buy another pattern, which I didn't want to do. Not sure I would make it a second time, but I felt that I wanted to retain the ability to make it a second time. So you put a piece of fabric, your chosen color, on section 1, and then you lay over it the fabric on section 2, right sides together. So you put it right side up, right sides together, and then you stitch on the line. And so you're actually putting the fabric behind, I should say. You're putting the fabric behind the paper, and you need to hold it up to the light in order to stitch on the line. And then you flip that fabric over, and you have the seam right on that line. And then you stitch fabric number 3 on the other side in this case, fabric number 4 over on this side, and then fabric number 5, and then you end up with this rectangle and you trim it to make that particular part of the design. And the thing that foundation paper piecing is used for is doing things that are either too intricate or pictures of things in fabric. And I really enjoy this. In fact, I used to do it as the primary way of making quilts that I did, and I made tiny miniature quilts. So this that I was showing you is from this pattern. Whoa, it's an actual, glossy snapshot on there of a lighthouse by MH Designs. And I made this, and I'll put a picture in of my version of it so that you can see. And I followed the color placement pretty closely. I also made, where is it? Come on, here it is. I also made this cute little thing, also an MH Designs pattern called Symphony, in honor of my husband, who used to direct our church orchestra, and he has a mustache. Now he also has a beard, which this little guy doesn't have. And he directed our choir, and I made it in 2010 for him, and I put this fabric on the back, which I thought was pretty cute. And he had it hanging at his office, at his desk at his office. And he said it attracted some conversation, which was great, because it let him talk about his enjoyment of music. Oh, cute. These are little buttons. Isn't that cute? And my flat is a little low. I'm so irritated with myself because really, I'm a musician. I should be able to make that perfectly. But anyway, there was that. So those are two that I've made of that designer. I've made a few more of hers as well. And I have information in the description box about how to get the things I'm showing, as I always try to do. Another foundation paper piecing designer is George Siciliano, and Cindy and I took a class from him a number of years ago. I will say maybe 10 years ago, I don't know, a while ago. And he does variations on log cabin blocks is really what he does. And everything that I have made, and so Cindy gave me, I may have shown this way long ago, but these are the same, this is the same pattern that I use two different colorways for. And this particular one, I don't have it. I do have it right here. I can show you. This is actually a fiber-ish interfacing type thing. See, there it is. This is the pattern that you leave in the piece. So it's a hexagonal log cabin, basically, with the different lines of it overlapping each other. And if I wanted to get more, I could contact him, and there's information on the website. Now, it's interesting, he and his wife were both at that class. It was a very delightful class. They were fun people. He was fun. And his techniques were really good. And of course, the result, I had a class project, which is upstairs, finished, and Cindy gave me this pattern for my birthday. I bought another pattern from him. So enjoyable. He also created this tool, which is called the Triple Duty Seam Allowance Guide, which is fantastic for doing foundation paper piecing. And on the back of it are instructions on how to use it. And I think these are still available on his website, but I use this. Whenever I do foundation paper piecing, I use this. It makes it so much easier to be accurate and tidy about how you go about it. So that was a lot of fun. And I have 2 more foundations to go, and I have ideas of how I might go about it. So foundation, oh yes, and this one I've shown before, but this is foundation paper piecing as well. This is an example here. I'll put it the way I normally hang it, where it's just one block, and it's quite simple, but doing it as a foundation paper pieced item instead of trying to cut the pieces and stitch them together in the traditional way makes it easier to make this smaller and to make all the points perfect. I mean, I don't make perfect points, and even in this, the points are not perfect, but they are darn near close to perfect. This is one of my favorite pieces, as you know. I show it seasonally at the beginning of the Christmas season. But you don't have to use foundation paper piecing to make small things. This is the designer named Violet Craft, and this is Mount Hood, and I made it. I haven't quilted it yet. I must do that this winter. I won't say this year, but before spring, but no, it's big. It's a wall hanging. Obviously, it's sort of modern. I enjoyed making this. It's amazing that you can render something that's recognizable as Mount Hood in fabric. So I have to decide how I'm quilting that and get going on it. And then another type of foundation paper piecing is, well, it's really the same idea, but this is by England Design Studios. And this, she calls it picture paper piecing, not foundation paper piecing. I don't know. It does use a little bit different technique in that you use freezer paper instead of a foundation. And so you sort of sew the pieces, you use the freezer paper to guide you in where you're placing things. And I haven't made this, so. But Cindy has made one of a sewing machine, which she said as she was putting the little pieces together, creating the elements to it, she thought it was going to be horrible. And when she got it all together, it was really nice. So that's great. So yes, I think I'll do that. I mean, that's on my list of things to do that when I finish the commission quilt, I'll do. So a quick status update on the commission quilt. I have been really focusing on quilting, hand quilting, these past 9 days. I mean, even before then, I was putting in an hour or 2 a day. I've been putting in 3 or 4 hours a day on it these last 9 days because I'm trying to decide if it's possible for me to finish it in time to put it in the fair, the North Carolina State Fair. The drop-off day for the fair is October 8th or 9th. I think it's that weekend, the 8th and 9th of October. And that is a month from now. So that seems like maybe there's enough time. I have to decide, I have to actually register to enter it by this coming Wednesday. The official deadline might be Thursday, but I and my husband are going out of town starting Thursday for a few days. We're going to our nephew's wedding, and we're going to Nashville. We're going to take our sister-in-law to the Grand Ole Opry and have a good family time there, and hopefully see some friends also who live in Nashville. We happen to know actually a lot of people in Nashville. It's kind of funny because neither Byron nor I has ever lived in Nashville. It just happens that people all ended up there. So we're going to do that, and therefore I have to decide by Wednesday, probably Wednesday morning, in order to make sure that my entry gets in there. And that means I have today, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I have 5 more days to be able to focus on the quilting of it in order to get an idea of whether I could possibly finish it. I need to allow a couple of days for binding also. It's a big quilt. And I think it would take me hours to bind it. It's big. It will take some time to actually create the binding and then machine stitch it on the edge, and then the hand sewing is the biggest thing. Now, Cindy has said she'll help me. Interestingly, we bind opposite. That is, we do our hand stitching opposite, so we could start next to each other and work our way around the quilt and meet on the other side. So that would actually be possible. We could do it together. So maybe we'll do that. I'll put a picture in of the current status of one corner of the quilt, which shows the quilting nearly complete in that section. Again, I am enjoying it. I couldn't do something for 4 hours a day if I didn't enjoy it. I truly am. I figured out the ergonomics of working with that hoop and how I have to sit and how I have to position the quilt. I figured that out so that I'm not tying my body in a pretzel in order to do it. And so it's not really uncomfortable, but it is time consuming. So, but you know, there's Flosstube and other videos to watch, and I sometimes sit there in silence and just think, and I find, you know, I'm quite an interesting person, so I don't mind just sitting quietly with my thoughts. So one other thing I wanted to show, just because I came across this the other day when I was looking for something else, as this is how it often happens, isn't it? I have the thread and the pattern and the gauze, silk gauze, to do the Church in the Mountains, which I'll put a picture of, my one I already did again. This is, I believe it's called 3-thread gauze, meaning that you use 3 DMC threads to stitch it. And I was sort of looking through the thread that is here. This is the thread when I did it before, to see if I could tell if I had done it with 3 threads. And I think I did, because here's a piece that I think I, finish and cut off my needle, and it is 3 threads. So it's 3-thread gauze. I mean, you cannot, I don't think there's any possible way for the camera to show that, but gauze is a good name for it. And as I say, inserting a picture of the one I did, it hangs right there. You can see it right next to my ear, right there. That's it. And it's small. Until today, I hadn't figured out how to get a picture of it that didn't have glare on it, which makes me wish that I hadn't put glass in it, or that I'd put museum glass. But when I got it framed, I didn't have I wouldn't have chosen to spend money on the museum glass because it is a lot more money than just normal glass. And I don't think I would have put it without glass. And this, where it's hanging, is our family room, which is connected to the kitchen. So there's cooking vapors in the air, and I don't think no glass is a good idea. So anyway, I just showed you that because it's in my mind to stitch it again. Now, it's a chart. It looks like a cross-stitch chart. I can't show you even a picture of it because it didn't come with a picture. It could be cross-stitched. It could be cross-stitched large. But I love the fact that it's so small. It originally was charted for greens, and I think it's 8 shades. And I wanted to do it in blues because it looks like nighttime, sort of a church in the moonlight. I keep moving to show you that behind me, which you can't see at all. So you just have to look at the picture that I'm putting in the video or have already put in the video. So that is something, again, I just came across it. I think this gauze is fascinating. I believe that needlework stores, you can still get it. Stores that specialize in needlepoint, I believe you can still get this type of gauze because petit point is a thing. It is still a thing. It is something that silk threads are used for embroidery on this kind of gauze. So this, I believe it's called silk gauze, and it has a lot of sizing in it, so it's stiff. But I think it's made of silk. I could be wrong. If some of you know, you can let me know. I mean, as I have said before, I don't have a local needlework store anywhere near me. I mean, the closest one is in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is about an hour, which I want to go to, and I may discover this gauze there and can learn more about it. So as I say, we are going to be traveling next week. I think it's highly unlikely that I will make a video next week. So sorry. However, I think it's going to be more than a month before there's even the possibility of traveling again. And so it is quite likely that there'll be a long stretch of regular videos. And even that 1 week I'm thinking of, which is at the end of October, we might be going down to Atlanta to see our nephew play football, another nephew. We have a lot of nephews and nieces, and great nephews and great nieces. And we are great aunts, aunt and uncle. We are great. We might be going down to see him play football at the very end, and that is a Friday, so we'll be traveling on Friday, but I might do a video on Thursday or Sunday that weekend. So I've been either not doing a video at all or pretty regular on Fridays in the past very many months. But I sometimes am not regular. Sometimes I have in the past on Thursday, Saturday, or Sunday. And for that reason, you might want to consider subscribing and clicking the notifications bell so that when I do post a video, you'll be notified about it, in case it's not regular. But in any case, I hope that you have a great week stitching or making miniature quilts or traveling or whatever's on your mind, whatever's on your agenda, and many blessings to you, friends.